The little black rectangle. This is what my phone looked like. It was sleek, black, and always in my hand. It was my map, my camera, my clock, my friend, and my connection to the whole world. Without it, I felt lost. I live a very connected life. I check messages many times a day. I scroll through photos when I wait in line. If I am walking, my phone is in my pocket, ready to show me the fastest route. My smartphone is like a second brain. It remembers everything and gives me instant answers. So, a friend dared me. "Can you survive 1 week without it?" she asked, smiling. I laughed. It sounded silly. But the challenge was big, and I agreed. I felt a small knot of worry in my stomach. What if I couldn't function? Day 1 was a disaster. When I woke up, the first thing I did was reach for my phone. It was not there. I looked under the pillow. I looked on the bedside table. Nothing. Panic started like a small fire in my chest. I felt very exposed. I walked outside. I needed to check the weather. I needed to see if my bus was running on time. I felt helpless. I went to a cafe. I sat down at a table. I felt the urge to open social media. I felt the urge to check the news. But I couldn't. My hands felt empty. I looked at the other people. They all looked busy, looking down at their screens. I felt like I was watching a strange movie, and I was not in it. The silence was the hardest part. My phone is always full of sounds, notifications, music, podcast voices. Now, the silence was loud. It was a heavy, empty sound. Day 2 was still difficult. I felt restless. I walked around my neighborhood many times. I felt like I was wandering, not moving with purpose. I needed entertainment. I needed a quick, easy distraction. But the distractions were gone. I found an old book on my shelf. I picked it up. I opened it. Reading was slow. It was quiet. My brain, used to quick videos and short messages, felt confused. It wanted speed. It wanted instant rewards. The book did not give me instant rewards. It asked for patience. I read for an hour. It was a good hour, but it felt different from the instant pleasure of a scroll. The small problems grew bigger. I wanted to meet a friend for lunch, but I did not have her number saved in a quick, searchable way. I had to find her old address book. I had to write her a paper note. It felt like something from a movie. Day 3 brought a strange shift. I started to notice things. I looked at the trees. I watched the way the sun moved across the wall. I saw a bird build a nest in the oak tree. These small things, which I usually rushed past, suddenly felt important. I started walking without a destination. I just walked. I walked slowly. I talked to the people I met. I talked to the shop owner, who told me stories about his life. I talked to a neighbor who was gardening, and she taught me how to identify a certain type of rose. These conversations were real. They were deep. They were not just quick texts or emojis. The constant low-level anxiety that comes with always being reachable began to fade. I realized that being always on was not the same as being connected. I was connected to my surroundings, to my body, to the present moment. Days 4 and 5 were a lesson in simplicity. I learned to use a physical map again. It was folded and creased, and I had to look closely at the lines and names. It was slow, but I felt clever when I found the right street. I felt proud. I started cooking more complicated meals. I used the cookbook, not the recipe app. I used my senses, the smell of the spices, the sound of the chopping, the taste of the food. These actions required my full attention. My mind was busy with the kitchen, not with the digital world. I met my friend again. We met at a park. We talked for 2 hours without looking at a screen once. We laughed about old memories. The conversation felt richer, fuller. It was like drinking good, slow tea instead of sugary soda. Day 6 was pure peace. The panic was completely gone. The restlessness was gone. I felt grounded. I felt quiet, but not empty. I felt peaceful. I felt like I had been running in a crowded room, and suddenly, I had found a quiet corner to breathe. I had rediscovered my own rhythm. The last day, day 7, felt like a gentle ending. I was strong. I was calm. I had faced the giant glowing device, and it had not defeated me. It had taught me something important. When the week was over, I felt a mix of feelings. Relief, certainly, but also a little sadness for the easy connection I had lost. I looked at my phone. It was still there, sitting on the table. It still looked small and powerful. I picked it up. I opened the apps. The noise started again. The alerts, the updates, the stream of information. It was like a sudden rush of cold air. I did not throw it away. I know I cannot go back to zero. But I learned something vital. The smartphone is a great tool. It is a fast bridge. But it is not a life. I realized that the best connection is the one you have with yourself. I learned how to be bored. And in that boredom, I found something beautiful. Quiet time. I found space to think. I found the simple pleasure of watching the clouds move. The week without the screen did not just test my survival, it tested my attention. And it taught me that sometimes the most valuable things in life are the slow, simple things that do not need a battery to run.